Hey, we've talked about having some really cool guests on the Greg McAfee Show. And today is the day we're going to have Ken Goodrich, and he's going to share his story and some of his business insights of what it takes to be successful in business. So if you don't know, Ken began his HVAC career as a 10-year-old boy holding the flashlight for his dad, servicing Goettl air conditioners. Fast forward, Ken is now the chairman of the board of Goettl Air Conditioning and Plumbing. All Goettl aside, Ken has acquired, integrated, and developed more than 40 businesses in his lifetime. He's considered home service industry icon, who I call the Titan of our industry. He's helped so many people succeed, and he's also part of the best-selling book where co-authored with Michael E. Gerber, The E-Myth for HVAC Contractor. Let's now hear from Ken Goodrich. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. So today we want to welcome Ken Goodrich. I've already told you a little bit about him, and I've got some questions for him that all of you will be very interested to know more about, and just where our HVAC is going. We just talked a little bit about that. But, you know, Ken, a lot of times people ask me, did you know you were going to be this successful, or did you know this was going to happen, and did you know you were going to own this, and all that kind of stuff? And you know, you're 100 times bigger than we are. And I just have to ask you, if you don't know, folks who are listening, Ken used to carry a flashlight for his dad when his dad owned a heating and air conditioning company. And Ken, when you were carrying that flashlight, I mean, did you have any idea what the future held for you?
Well, certainly not then. You know, I mean, I was enslaved in the family business. And, you know, I'm out here in Las Vegas where I'm sure every market has their weather nuances, but I'm in Las Vegas where most of the air conditioners at that time were on the roof. And, you know, we were working on the roof all day, every day in the summertime. And, you know, with, 110, 115 degrees beating down on you. So, no, I was always thinking about, when can I get out of this, really, right, at that age. And then I went to, I really set the goal to get out of the air conditioning business, and I went to college. And so I studied finance, and when they started to get to the point where you're going and talking to recruiters, I'm getting job offers, and they're giving me job offers. You know, I think at the time it was something ridiculous, like maybe $25,000 a year to start, and this was in the early 80s. Maybe 30,000, but and I said, I'm making 60,000 a year, part-time side job in air conditioning. So I decided at that point that I wasn't going to go the finance route, and I'm going to buckle down and start my own HVAC business and be an entrepreneur, because I knew that well. I knew how to make money at it. I had some new tools from school, and I thought I'd go at it that way. So no, just to clean up that question, no, when I first got in it, while it was fun working with my dad and I learned a lot of stuff, I couldn't wait to get out of it back then.
You worked with your dad for about how long?
15 years. I started with when I was 10 years old. And then, every night, weekend, and summer since that moment. And then he passed away when I was 25. And I bought the family business from my mom, which was me in a van. It was one van, and that Dad and I used to ride along with, and a 3x5, those 3x5 postcards with the customers' names and everything written on them, and the last service call in a little box. That's what I got.
Sure. So, and that really wasn't that long ago. I mean, it wasn't 100 years ago. It was about how long ago when you bought the business?
I bought the business in 1987.
Yeah. So we're talking, what, 35, 36 years ago.
Uh,
And just to give a snapshot, fast forward, Goettl was doing about how much in the last year or so?
Goettl's $300 million business in 4 states and, over 1,000 employees now. And there's a whole backstory how I got to Goettl too. But over the course of time, I bought the business from my mom, and my dad was never interested in expanding. He didn't like employees. He was an excellent technician, and he took care of his customers. He was a good salesman. He knew how to keep his prices up. He made money, and he left it at that. He just didn't want to chase people around. And so, he would always caution me not to have people. But I'm thinking, I'm not going to get out in the service truck anymore. I got 15 years hard labor in it. I'm going to go find some techs and lead the company. Well, I started out just like all of us do, in a van, and then start hiring people with really no formal business system, no processes, no understanding on the mathematics of the business, nothing, just winging it and thinking, hey, I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm going to keep doing it. So I get out pretty quickly, and I had a kind of a knack for sales. So I'd go out and sell some jobs, and started hiring people and putting people on and buying used trucks and painting them up and making them look pretty and putting letters on them and, all the fun stuff of growing a business. And, pretty quickly got up to about 30 employees. And, we were really getting noticed in Las Vegas, is where I'm from. And grew pretty fast. And then about a year in, maybe 2 years in, I show up at the office, and a guy standing out front, and he gives me his business card, and he's from the IRS. And he says, I'm here to talk about your delinquent payroll taxes. And I said, what's payroll taxes? I didn't even know. And he quickly showed me what those were by taking all our money out of our bank accounts, my personal bank accounts, on bouncing our payrolls, taking a few trucks, all that nonsense, and really set me into a tailspin. So most everybody quit except 2 guys. And so it was me and 2 guys. I had $4,000 in my pocket, cash. Nobody would take my checks because we had bounced all these checks because the IRS garnished my accounts. And so I went out every day. I sold a job, paid for the equipment with cash. My 2 guys went and put in. I went and found another one, and we dug ourselves out of that hole. At the same time, I got this book called The E-Myth. The E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. A friend had given it to me. And so I read the book, and I'm like, this guy has had to been following me around in the bushes and watching what I'm doing, because he knew every stupid thing that I was doing, right? It was right there in the book, and he showed me how to fix it. So I just diligently dedicated myself to pull this company out of the hole. Now, remember, I bought the business from my mom. It was the family business. I was making payments. So I couldn't go back and tell my mom that I crashed the family business inside a year and a half, that my dad had run successfully for 20 years, So I just had to gut it out. I had to get through this.
Right.
And so I learned everything that I could in the book, and I started making my business plans and taking its direction. I read the book 33 times. And then I started applying its principles, and I worked my way out of the hole. I got the IRS paid back. I created a business system. I started to grow. And then once I kind of got that done, and we were flourishing, and we became the top residential service replacement business in Las Vegas when I was, early, maybe 30 years old, early 30s. Guys started to come to me that were struggling, and they didn't know what to do with their business. So I'd buy the business, because I became a turnaround expert, because I had, screwed my own business up so bad and figured out how to get out of it. So I started buying these broken companies or guys retiring and putting them into my business. And I built a pretty sizable business back then. And just kind of pulled myself out of the muck that I had created for myself. And then that's when the consolidation was coming along, mid 90s, right? ARS and Group Back and
Right.
all those companies. And so I sold the company to ARS, and which was my plan. My plan was I'm going to build a company. I didn't want to go the finance route, so I'm going to build this company, sell it, make some capital, and then sit back and see what I really want to do in life. You know what they say, follow your passion, right?
Right.
So I do that, and I execute my plan. I had planned to sell the business for $1 million because, I was young. I didn't know what the value of money, what $1 million meant. I didn't realize how little money $1 million is, right? But anyway, that was my goal. And I sold it for $6 million. So then I get through it. I kind of get de-stressed because the business is off my back for a while, and I start to regret the decision, saying, man, I'm traveling around at ARS and looking at everybody else's company. I'm like, man, I could have done that. Oh, I like that idea. Man, if I had done that, I would have been this much bigger. And I started to really get more interested in the space. And so I decided I was just going to live out my non-compete and go try it again. So I lived out my non-compete, and this time I had a little bit of capital, and I had a lot more knowledge because, when I worked at ARS, I had I learned things that you typically wouldn't get to learn in this type of business, right? I learned how to do an acquisition. I learned the math behind that. I learned how to manage multi-branches. I learned how to think strategically and long-term planning. I learned the value of, making an annual plan and sticking to those numbers and really digging into the KPIs, metrics of the business. Really the corporate governance that the big companies have, I got to experience there for 3 years. And I had worked my way up to, I was leading the acquisition charge. And like I said, I was all over this country in the best shops in the nation, and I was just soaking in all the information. So then I said, I want to go at it again. Now, that's a long way to answer that question. I can keep going if you want, though.
That's very interesting. I mean, these guys that are listening, they're doing anywhere from 1, 3, 15 million probably tops. So, and a lot of them want to grow. And keep going. Okay.
So then I lived out my non-compete, and I found a little company in Las Vegas, and it did $300,000 in sales the year before I bought it. And it was just a guy and his son and a couple trucks, but the business was maybe 50 years old. The brand was 50 years old. So I bought the business, didn't pay a lot for it. Gave him half down, he financed half, and we went to work. And I put a team together, and we took all the processes that I had learned, through my former business and what I had learned at ARS, and I started to put our business plan together and how we're going to go to market. And for instance, we closed on that business on June 1st of 2000. And we June 1st of 2000, and he did $300,000 a year before. Between June 1st and December 31st, we did 3.9 million with the same customer base and the same guys and the whole thing. We knew how to execute. And in that particular case, here's something that people ought to hear about doing acquisitions. The best part of this deal was he did a lot of repairs. He was not showing the customers the benefit of a replacement sale. So we had just a very fertile ground, lots of opportunities. Every service call this guy had maintained for decades, these units, and did a great job at it, but no one's ever asked him to buy an air conditioner. So we just started to, suggest they think about it, and or in some cases, we say, look, you should not put any more money in this 27-year-old unit, right? And, the customers were saying, we were always wondering when you were going to ask, right? And they'd say,
They're waiting on it.
yeah, they were waiting on it, and they just would buy. And we just took off like that. And then I started using, again, all these techniques that I'd learned, one from my crash, one from me figuring out how to fix a broken business. I started acquiring every little small business I could in Vegas. And I built a behemoth in Vegas called Yes Air Conditioning and Plumbing. And I moved some locations into Phoenix. So I built that one up, and I had 7 locations between Vegas and Phoenix. And we were doing fine, and we're doing great. By that time, we were at Blaze over 30 million in sales. So this goes back to, 2006, 5, 6, something like that. And 2007 comes along, and if you recall, the economy was getting a little sketchy, right? And so I go to Comfort Tech. Remember the convention, Comfort Tech?
Right.
So I go to the convention, Comfort Tech, and when I get my badge, I get this invitation from ARS that says they're having a cocktail party, and I'm invited. So I said, okay, what the heck, maybe I'll see some old friends. So I go to the cocktail party, and the business had sold to private equity, so I didn't know anybody there, but I was the only guy that showed up, the only guy who showed up to this cocktail party. So I got a captive audience with these people, and we cut a deal to sell Yes to them that night.
Wow.
Shook on everything, did the math. I had my financials, gentleman's agreement, but, we eventually sold it a couple months later to ARS. So then they gave me an earnout, but they said, look, we're going to give you these 6, 7 businesses that we have that are broken. And we want you to come in and your team to fix them, and we'll pay you an earnout based on how much you grow your business and these broken ones too. So I had a whole division that pretty much operates in the same places I do now, some Arizona, Nevada, California. I didn't have Texas, but I have Texas today. So I went to work on that, and we grew those businesses. And again, we continued to apply the principles that I learned back when I struggled to run the business that Michael Gerber had taught us, right? The 7 centers of management attention, innovation, quantification, orchestration, all this stuff that he taught in his book. We continued to apply that. And we took these businesses from about 30 million total in revenue to 80 million in revenue, 3 million on profit on the bottom to start, to 14 million on the bottom to finish during the years 2008, 9, and 10, which is the Great Recession,
right?
Which was the hardest, most people went out of business during that time. And my team and I, we took these businesses and thrived. And I think because we installed the disciplines, we ran the business by the numbers, we are an essential service. So, we understand that, we're going to have a business come rain or shine, right? Regardless of what the economy is going to do. And where everybody contracted, where most of the competitors, pulled their horns in, I just pushed the throttle forward on marketing, and we went out and took all the business.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I talk about in 2008, we were up about 46% when everybody else was down. And I bought pins that all my techs wore. We don't participate in recessions. And like you, we just thought different. I didn't hunker down like everyone else. I increased advertising. I hired, I bought more equipment. We're kind of, with this inflation going on and everything like that. And I guess the HVAC world, we're experiencing somewhat of a slump right now. I don't recognize it, but a lot of people do. What kind of advice can you give them? A little bit about how you dealt with that, and that's just one of them, I'm sure. But 2007, 2008, 2009.
Well, I guess number one is you don't have a choice. We don't have big, big funds backing us, and most small businesses, we don't have big cash backing us. We don't have big lines of credit that can keep us running for 5 years, all that nonsense. We have to go out and make it happen, number one. So get it out of your mind. You don't, like you said, we don't participate in recessions because we can't. Right. And, over the course of time, I've been in business a long time. I've been in the air conditioning business for over 50 years. And so I've been through a lot of challenges that affect the economy. I've been through some wars and elections and 9/11s and all this stuff. And just like you said, I thought, well, that's terrible, but I got to do what I got to do and feed my family. And I just kept marching forward. I didn't let it affect me. And, what you said is the perfect guide for the listeners, which is we don't participate. We just don't participate in those things, right? So, and that's what we tell our people. Right now there is a slowdown in leads, and certainly consumer confidence is going down a little bit. Financing is a little more difficult, so we see it. So it's a good time to tighten up. Tighten up your loose ends. Everybody was really running pretty fat and happy. 2020, 2021, 2022 even. But I think we pulled forward a lot of demand. Everybody's numbers shot up. Everybody was putting in more equipment. Prices went up because of inflation. We just kind of enjoyed a perfect storm of opportunity. Now, but it's kind of normalizing, but we keep thinking that what we just went through was the new reality. It wasn't. That was a blip, Now we got to go back to work and be serious and make every single customer encounter count. Every phone call has to be perfect. Every job has to be on time. Every customer interaction has to be pleasant. We just have to execute better. We can't be fat and happy anymore. And same thing, like you said earlier, it's going to be the same formula as we talked about in the Great Recession. There's going to be people retracting on their advertising and trying to shrink back. And I think that's a bad plan. I say lean in on it, be more precise, and go keep gathering customers.
So a lot of companies think when it gets tight like this that we should just lower our price. What's your opinion on that?
I just think that's a death nail number one for them. I just think it's a bad idea. I don't think us as an industry. I think that many contractors way underprice their services, and it's tragic that they work so hard and take so many risks for so little profit. And, taking it down a notch from there is just suicide as far as I'm concerned. I think you always got to provide a good value for your customer, and you have to be conscious of, that you're spending their money. But you also have to do it in a way that you can afford to provide the service that that they need and want. And, what kind of matches the core values of your company. So do not lower your prices. You just go and be better. Go be better.
Exactly. And I've talked on this podcast basically about the help you gave me with prices. And I've been doing this 33 years. So you just can't have an ego about what you know in business, because there's always someone out there that knows more and that can help you. And I know you've got a lot of mentors and advisors. But that was the best advice I was given in a long time. your prices are too low. And my mentality was, look, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. You're in Las Vegas. I know Dayton, Ohio. But what happened was I took that challenge and I raised my prices gradually, didn't notice any difference. Then I raised my prices and I didn't notice any difference. And now we're substantially higher than we were. Profits have never been better. And I don't know what a lot of people were thinking like I was, that if I raise my prices, I'll lose sales. And it's quite the opposite.
Hey, look, man, when you're facing closing your business like I was, what you really have to do is really stay on top of the numbers. That daily activity has to be, where am I at? How am I pacing for the month? How much money do I need to cover my overhead? How much cash do I need to cover my payables? All the stuff. You got to be on top of it. Well, once you install that discipline in yourself and in the business, you know your cost. You know what it costs to do business. And it was so clear to me that I had to charge more, and what I had to charge to make even a fair profit. And, certainly in when I'm in Las Vegas, I got a lot of pushback from my contemporaries, my competitors, about my pricing. But I'm like, until you sit down and go through the exercise that I had to go through, and you dig into the mathematics of this business to understand it, then don't even talk to me about it. I know that I'm doing the right thing. And until you start doing what I'm doing, you're never going to make any money. And so they fought it for years. And I continued to grow, and I continued to thrive, and I continued to move into other markets. And I got to the place where every market we've ever served, we have been the highest price and either number one or two in the market, which is contra to the belief that you need to lower your prices. We could provide the value and the service that they couldn't, and customers, that's what they want to buy. You cannot build a business with transactional customers, meaning that customers that only care about the price. You can't build a future with those people. So you need to go out and find the relational customers who appreciate you for the quality and the service that you provide, and is willing to pay for that and to have you at their beck and call when they need you. And that was my philosophy. That's always my philosophy. Interesting story, though, just like yours. Guy comes to me he reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm in Clearwater, Florida, and, I need some help, and I've been in business for 30 years and blah, 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 and, tell me the story. And I'm coming out to Las Vegas. Can I meet with you? I said, sure, come on out. So we meet, and we start talking. Nice guy, train dealer, telling me all the situation. I'm looking at his pricing. I'm like, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go back to your hotel room, log on to your Service Titan, and double your replacement sales prices tonight. Double them. I don't know what goes on in Florida, because these guys, everybody has the same number. No matter where I go in Florida, they want to sell an air conditioner for $7,500. I don't know why. I'm like, you're not making enough gross profit dollars per job to build anything with. You can't survive with that. And he goes and starts talking about, what's the market there? And I said, listen, there is no HVAC market. We're not in pork bellies, right? We're not in copper. We're selling a service. The market is made with you and right in front of that customer. That's when the market is made, with your offering, and they accept that offering. That is the market. So I said, rather than saying the word 7,500, say 15,000, and you're going to have the same damn result, and you're going to make some money in your business, right? So he was a little weary. I go, listen, just do it for a week. What do you got to lose? Maybe you lose a couple jobs. You can always come back and cheat Charlie him if you want.
Right.
Week goes by. He goes, I sold every job for 15,000. I go, yeah, just like I told you, right? So he keeps going on with that. I said, now let's talk about your equipment. I love train equipment. I've been a train guy most of my whole career, except I don't sell them because the prices you can't make a profit with. They're stealing all the profit from us by their high cost of goods, right? So I had to make a change. And, when you really start paying attention to what you're spending and your gross profit contribution per job on your replacement sales and trying to really drive that up and negotiate with your vendors, build better partnerships, make sure you have incentives like, year of your growth rebates, or year of your growth discounts or whatever, you put that stuff in place. Now you can really start generating some gross profit dollars. And that's what it's all about. So anyway, so he goes at that. He goes at that. He starts attacking his COGS, cost of goods sold. And then he calls me up and says, I've never made so much money. I can't even believe it. And he goes, here's the weird thing. People are calling me and I'm getting more referrals now that I'm the most expensive. So then he calls me recently and he sends me a big box of cigars and said, I just want to tell you, I just sold my business for $40 million and it never could have happened if I didn't have that lunch with you. And I thank you so much, and I was happy to do it to help him. But it was all because of that one thing, make sure you're priced right.
Ken's journey to transforming his life and business is just incredible. I still call him the Titan of the HVAC. From owing money to the IRS to doing over $300 million is just unheard of in our industry. But don't miss the opportunity to learn how to take your business to new heights and go even deeper into Ken's incredible story. Join us next week on Thursday as we continue this conversation. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down there, and I'll see you next time.